Greetings, Deacon Thomas here in our beautiful St. Michael the Archangel Parish Church. We have a great feast day in the church coming up, the feast of Corpus Christi. Corpus Christi is Latin for the body of Christ. And this feast day is totally dedicated to the real presence of Jesus with us in the Eucharist. It's an amazing feast. And traditionally on this feast, there's a procession that happens. So we'll actually take Jesus in the Eucharist and place him in a monstrance, which is a beautiful vessel which we'll carry around Jesus with, and we'll process around the campus with Jesus. And it's a wonderful time to honor Jesus, to sing hymns, and to walk with Jesus and celebrate who he is and his real presence with us. So June 11th at 10 a.m., we are going to have a procession here, a Eucharistic procession here at St. Michael the Archangel Parish, and you guys are all invited to that. This feast was instituted 800 years ago by Pope Urban IV in 1264. But the feast actually began with a little girl named Juliana. Now, Juliana was born in Belgium, and she was orphaned as a young girl, sadly. But she was brought up by some nuns and was educated by them. Eventually, she became a nun herself, and she always had a love for Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. And one day, she was given a vision, and she envisioned the church in the form of a full moon. And on this full moon, she noticed one dark spot, and she knew in her heart that that dark spot was the fact that we didn't have a feast in the church solely dedicated to Jesus' real presence in his body and blood. And so she told this vision to a priest, which eventually made it to the bishops, and eventually made it all the way to the Pope himself. And so the Pope was inspired by this and decided to institute a feast dedicated solely to Jesus and the real presence, Corpus Christi. The feast is traditionally celebrated on the Thursday after Holy Trinity Sunday. Now, why on a Thursday? It's because Jesus instituted the Eucharist on a Thursday, on Holy Thursday, the night of the Last Supper. And so just 2 months after we celebrate Jesus on Holy Thursday, now we celebrate him on Corpus Christi, on a Thursday. Now, on Holy Thursday, we celebrate the institution of the Eucharist, but we also celebrate the institution of the priesthood and the washing of the feet, and also Jesus' agony in the garden. And so this feast of Corpus Christi is special because it's dedicated only to Jesus in his body and blood. Now, why would we go on pilgrimage? Because our life is a pilgrimage. Jesus tells us we are not meant for this world, that our true home is in heaven. And so on this feast of Corpus Christi, we'll process around with Jesus because our life is a procession. It's a pilgrimage with Jesus to our homeland in heaven. And our journey in life can be tiring, and we can come across stumbling blocks and different difficulties, but Jesus is always with us. And when we have Jesus, we can be joyful and we can sing because he's with us and he will get us through any trouble or difficulty. So, on Thursday, June 11th at 10 a.m., we will celebrate this great feast of Corpus Christi with a Eucharistic procession. And so I invite you all to come join us, to be with Jesus, to walk with him, and to honor him in his real presence in his body and blood.